Hey, everybody. This is episode 23 of Can We Talk About Your WordPress Projects? Today, we're talking with Melanie Adcock about her process for creating her mockups early in the process and how that works and what she does later using a different tool. She's going to show us how she uses Smart Mockup. Melanie, for those people who have been living under a rock and don't know who you are, okay, I'm seeing your cloud now.
Yeah, that's good.
Big cloud. Okay. So before we get started on showing us how you do this, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm Melanie Adcock. I am co-owner of Adcock Creative along with my husband, Jay, who handles the print and graphic side. I do the website, and we have a web designer virtual assistant in the Philippines named Jake. He has taken over all the design work, and I'm just doing project management now, which is nice. And been using WordPress since 2010 is when I discovered it and fell in love with it. Actually, what sold me on WordPress was Gravity Forms. Being able to build a form, a drag and drop form builder, was a dream come true for me. I ditched Dreamweaver and moved to the light side and started doing WordPress websites. Within a couple years, we're speaking at local meetups and WordCamps, and been doing that ever since.
Your niche client is pretty much churches and retirement homes, yes?
Yeah, churches and retirement communities. And I do some oddball one-offs because I generally work by referral. I have a friend who works with many, many different companies, and he recommends us all the time. People from church come to me for websites. So I do a little bit of everything, but my main focus is retirement communities and churches.
Excellent. What we're going to talk with Melanie about is her whole process of developing mockups and how she uses that to communicate with her VA. But this process could still be used to communicate with a client as well. When you use Smart Mockup, at what point in your process do you use it?
I use it in the initial design. Since I'm no longer doing the design, it's being done by Jake. I have him do a PSD. I want to see what his design.
What kind of file is that?
A PSD, Photoshop file.
Okay, thank you.
He builds it out in Photoshop.
I knew it was Photoshop. I wanted other people who might not know that.
And so uses images, either the ones I provide, or he pulls some sample images off of our deposit photo account or Unsplash or something like that, just to give me an idea. Generally what I do, this is the best way to show it. I draw it out in Rocketbook, what I want, and make little notes to the side. I take a picture of it with my phone and upload it to Trello. This is what I want you to do. I used to sit there and do it in Sketch or Photoshop or Illustrator or something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to use my pen and Rocketbook, and boom, I can get it up there. I'll do a project brief that I'll say, here in the hero section, I want you to use this text. I want this buttons, and I want the button text to be here. Here's what the menu's going to look like. I want them to do a home page and an inside page. If there's any kind of custom page, there may be 3 pages. But
now, is this for validating the design with the client? I'm confused as to why you're doing this, or why we're doing it in Photoshop and all of that.
Because I don't want him to start building something until I've seen it. I want it to be a PSD because I have a feeling that most time when people go straight to building, they fall back into habits. I know I did. I fell back into using the same kind of layout. I want him to be a little bit more creative and think about it. I'll just say, section 1, hero image, this. Section 2, it'll be this. Section 3, it'll be this. Section B, I have him a little sketch. Then he does the design mock-up. I don't want him having to go in and build something, a whole section. I'm like, no, I don't want it to look like that. I want it to change this, maybe use this. We use it back and forth. I have used Smart Mockups before WP feedback existed. When I was doing everything myself, I would build it out actually in Beaver Builder, take a screenshot with the screenshot tool in Chrome, then put it in Smart Mockups and give that link to the client, because I didn't want it to be interactive, because I didn't want to have to sit and do all the mobile stuff and have them change it. That to me is a wasted amount of work. So I can say, okay, this is what it's going to look like on desktop. This is what it's going to look like on mobile. I did that a long time ago because the Smart Mockups has been around a long time.
So in effect, what you are actually doing is creating high fidelity wireframes.
Right.
And for those who don't know, the difference between a low fidelity wireframe and a high fidelity wireframe is a low fidelity wireframe is all in black and white. There aren't any real images or anything like that. That's what I use to validate layout with the client. I don't want them to get distracted by design, because I think that sometimes they get their head down into the design. They're not really paying attention to the layout. For me, the wireframe is basically the validation of this is what the content's going to be. Here are all the little boxes where all the content's going to go. Do you like the way this is laid out? But I tell people this all the time. What we teach in the academy is the Mac Daddy version, right? If you're doing a giant project and you have to dot every I and cross every T, but that process is meant to be modified and tailored for your specific client base, the way you prefer to do business, and things you try out and say, well, that doesn't work, so I'm going to try something else out. I don't want anybody to think that we're giving conflicting advice, because one of the big things I say about the academy is we're giving you one path that we know works. There are things that you should not change, like having a change control procedure and using a change budget and those sorts of things. But the rest of it, do I do wireframes? Do I not do wireframes? It just depends on how you do business. So this is Melanie's way of doing it. And it might also work for you all, because is this a free tool, Smart Mockup?
Mockups is free, but WP feedback is not. I'm going to show you how we get to that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. You get to see my second desktop.
Just to recap, you draw it out, and what you're actually drawing out in your Rocketbook is a low fidelity wireframe, because you've just sketched it out. You give that to your VA. Your VA takes it, uses this tool, or he uses Photoshop.
Yeah, let me go to my next page here. It starts with a page brief and my little drawing. It's a written brief with a drawing of the wireframe along with a Loom video. I actually talk him through it also. I use Loom videos all the time with my VA. I walk him through the screenshot or the wireframe, the drawing, then go through what I want on each section. I include that in Trello for him. So that gives him all the resources. I give him the text. I give him any of the images, logo, anything that he needs to create that Photoshop file. He takes it into Photoshop. He does a mock-up and submits it back to me. I'll take that into Smart Mockup and start making comments on it, because Smart Mockup is made for images, not like a live website, which is why I use that versus WP feedback, because this is made for images. Here's an example of Smart Mockups. You're going to see a very similar layout to that in WP feedback. You have a discussion, you click little sections of the image, and you can write notes on it. For instance, one is that needs to be a button. I'll show you this actually in live. And two, make the logo bigger.
You actually told your VA to make a logo bigger.
I did it twice in the last two projects, because he basically took the logo off their current website, which is awful and tiny. It was tiny and blurry, and he didn't use the one I had uploaded. I guess he didn't see it in Trello under all the attachments. So I'm like, hey, I want you to use a dual button module. So I went down the page and make these corrections. And then he would go back to Photoshop, make the changes, submit it to me. We had to actually go through 3 iterations on this design before we actually presented it to the client. And here I can show you WP feedback, which is made for a live website. Look how similar it is. But the difference is a little more sophisticated. It makes a list of all the edits needed on this page. You have all the pages. You can go to the back end. I mean, it's a lot more feature rich, but that's free versus paid. So I'm going to escape right here, and I'm going to take you to Smart Mockups. It's pretty simple. You give it a title. You select your file. I usually do about 1,600 pixels wide, even though he gives them to me about 3,000 pixels wide.
All we're seeing right now is the cloud.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong place. Let me move this over. There we go. You add the title, you select the file, and you have to enable point and click feedback, enable the discussion. If you were using it with a client, this would be enable the user to approve the mockup with a digital signature. I've never used that because I really don't use this that much with clients anymore. I did back a long time ago. Then you could set your colors so they'll be closer to your brand. And this is just other things. I can show you an example of this.
Oh, I did not realize that this was a plugin for WordPress. I thought that it was a separate tool.
So this is on my website, our Adcock Creative website. So when they come to view Mockup, when they come, they're on my website. So it's a Adcock Creative Group Smart Mockups New Generation. This is actually a project we're working on right now. This was his initial design. The reason it looks like this is because this is a video and the screenshot tool did that. I'm using Go full page screenshot capture for Chrome. I have that link to that extension in my slides. Their original logo color was purple and gold. Not fun colors to work with. They have a new logo and I'm like, make this the blue. Use the purple as little as possible because this is one of those reflex blue type colors that anything above a button size is melting your eyes. We don't want to use it that much. I had them change that to the blue. Here's the second one. Make this logo bigger because you can't read it. And
well, they've got that tagline underneath. You got to be able to read
and you've got to be able to read it. And down here, it was, these need to be bigger. The countdown timer he put in here wasn't working, wasn't set up correctly.
Just one big image that you are putting these overlay comments on, correct?
And then you could turn on the commenting. You can have a discussion with them as well here. This is just a really, really simple tool. If you wanted to present a design, a Photoshop design, or just a plain design to a client, it's a great way. You can have them on a Zoom call and you could be walking, when they would say, well, we really like that to be blue, you could click and make yourself a note. You could click and do that. You're keeping track of everything that you need to change.
No, I like this because even if you're reviewing the wireframes with the client, even if you're using low fidelity wireframes, and even if you did it, as I suggest, building those low fidelity wireframes in your page builder, you could still use this tool without letting them get into the actual website part. I like it.
This one, he used the wrong logo, making that a button. I want this to look like a dual button, not two separate buttons. I just kind of went.
Button. What's a dual button?
You'll see that. I'll show you the actual live dev website. This is like version 2. When he revised it, he still didn't do the dual button and he still used the wrong logo. Once we got to version 3, I told him I created the menu on the dev site to please copy that. Here's the dual button.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It says call and it's not supposed to be a phone. It should be an or. So I told him that. There wasn't a lot on the third iteration. But if we go to the, let's see.
Is that dual button?
It's a UABB module. It's if you have UABB add-ons for Elementor, it'll be there too.
What is UABB?
Ultimate add-ons for Elementor. You could see this is actually the site we presented to the client. After I showed the mock-up, he wanted a more corporate picture for the main image. Here's the dual button with the or. This is now a button. The logo is a little bit bigger. This is a wider area. These are all things that we went back and forth with. This is the site that.
This is neither a church nor a
this is a referral from somebody in my Bible study. I have to say, churches are like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You will get all kinds of referrals from all different sources. The guy that's in my Bible study, he's a consultant for this company. And they have a very sad website right now. I don't even think the FBI could find it on Google. They still had the privacy turned on for their website. So we're getting ready to launch this. We're waiting for the final edits. And the same with the new generation church. This one, I'm actually using WP Feedback Pro on it. I've put a few of the final edits we need to do and make sure the menu doesn't go to hamburger on mobile. It needs to stay. And this one is add live stream button as the last item in the top bar and reverse out so it stands out.
Let me just clarify. The first one, you're using an image that your VA has created in Photoshop.
Right.
You put notes on it with Smart Mockup. And then he's now created the actual website because he's doing the design, right? Now he's created the actual website. And then you switch over to using WP Feedback, but you're still communicating just with the VA, right?
Right, just with the VA. This is Smart Mockups where he gave me the initial design, then the actual live site he built. He made the logo bigger. And I actually showed this to the client last week. We had a call, and these were just some of the things he suggested. And
so you don't use WP feedback with the client?
No, what I did was, like I told you, I was on the Zoom call and I was sharing it and we were going through it. I sent him the link ahead of time. I wasn't ambushing him. I want them to have it an hour before the meeting. I don't want them the day ahead, because then they show everybody and their brother and they get all the bad suggestions. I give it to him a little bit before the meeting for him to go in and make any questions that he has. Then we sit down and I make all the little hints for him as we go, and you could see.
Right. Now, see, this is something that Vito and I disagree on, because I think you really need to walk the client through it. And I love this tool. I love WP feedback. I love it, love it, love it, for just what you're saying that you do. You're doing the walkthrough live with the client, and as they give you notes, instead of writing it on a piece of paper or in Rocketbook, and then you come back and go, I have no idea what that comment means. Now you've got a reference point. You can use it with clients. Some clients are savvy enough. Maybe this is a third iteration of their website, so there's not a lot to be done, and they can actually come in. For those who don't know about WP feedback, they can actually come in and you can talk back and forth, but they could do it at 2 o'clock in the morning if they want to. So you're not relegated to the workday.
Yeah, they suggest you use filler text. You have them come and put in the content, like being a smart mock-up meets content snare kind of thing. Well, I don't want to use it that way. I use this live with a retirement community client, but the person who was doing the edits is very familiar with WordPress, and she was able just to go in and do that. And she has a login, so I left it on there. If she wants to send me an edit, and she does every once in a while, she goes, hey, can you change out this picture? And she'll do it through WP feedback. But that's the only one I've left it live on, because I know she's pretty savvy. And the person that's going to be taking over the site, I've been working with her. The site we're replacing is 8 years old and on GoDaddy. So we're replacing it they're going to be on my hosting. It's all much, much cleaner. The person on there I've trained over the years. I could give her access to this and she would absolutely love it.
The other thing about the way that Vito would like for WP feedback to be used, he's trying to be the communication hub for the entire website, for everything that goes on, especially if you have a team, people working on the same website. It could really be super beneficial in that case. But this idea, you don't have to communicate directly with the client, I think it takes the personal part out of it.
Right.
And I think you need that personal contact and that personal walkthrough, because sometimes just explaining that the reason we didn't make the logo bigger is because of blah, blah, blah. Or the reason that we used
something's got to give. Your menu's too long, or your logo, something's got to give. I've a few of that have really long logos.
And it allows you to make the client focus on what you need them to focus on, instead of having the walkthrough does.
Right.
Instead of them just coming here with a bunch of these bubbles, these little stickers, as Vito calls them, and them saying, not even paying attention to that, but going and making comments about stuff you're not even asking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the features they requested was a countdown module. And believe it or not, finding one that you didn't have to pay for was a little hard.
Struggled with it.
It's funny because I had one I used a long time ago. It was a free plugin, and they've since, changed it. The old free one didn't work anymore, but it became a paid plugin. So I actually found this one and we got it to work. I didn't want to have to buy one. This is one of my very small churches, so we tried to do things on their budget. And
Beaver Builder doesn't have a countdown timer?
Well, no, I guess I should clarify. I wanted a countdown timer that would reset itself every Sunday at 11:30.
Oh, that's cool.
Countdown timers are great, but I didn't want to have to reset it every Sunday. I wanted one that would auto reset. And I wanted a free one. So it took me a while to find one, but I found one. And then he basically could see it really is very close to the PSD from, let's see, it's quality. This is the PSD. I said, make this part bigger, which he did. Here's the same events. And it's very close to what the PSD was. They're going to give us their own video clips and we'll stitch it together into a nice little video, but they actually like this. Really matches their congregation. It's a very small church, multicultural, so it works. But
Well, how would the other person get access to make comments on it like a client?
you give
Let's
them
talk
access.
about, wait, let's talk about both
Mhm.
tools.
Yep.
Let's say you wanted to use smart mockups with your client.
Send them this link. As long as you've given them access in the back end of back
The
to where it
website.
says check, allow them to comment. Anybody with this link could come in and comment.
Okay. And then
So,
WP feedback works the same way.
Yeah.
If there's a thread maybe going back and forth between you and another team member that
Mhm.
you don't want the client to see, you
Right.
can make it so the client doesn't see everything you're doing back there.
Yeah, this is very featured rich, and you could see what the price is now. I'm sure he's going to have a Black Friday sale. Single site $6.99, starter $12.99, expert $24.99. I'm on this plan right now. I think I'm paying whatever that sale price was that we got. It was last year or at the very beginning, $150 or something like that for unlimited sites. I'm going to start using it more and more, I think, as I refine my processes. Now, I'm going to take this because I just had smart mockups installed on my website. And let me go back to this post. I'm going to go to plugins here. I noticed this morning that this plugin has not been updated in a while. It's pretty simple. Smart Mockup. You can see this plugin has not been tested with the latest 3 major releases of WordPress. It may no longer be maintained or supported. Right now, it's working. So if you want something, you can show PSD files and make comments along the way. I would use it until it doesn't work anymore. But one of the things you mentioned, Beth, that I want to say, I'm horrible at writing things down on a tablet instead of typing them out in Notes or Evernote or any place. Then you're sitting there trying to read your handwriting. So one of the things I've done is taken all my notebooks. I have a pile now I'm going through to purge, and I don't have any paper on my desk. It forces me to use Smart Mockups, WP Feedback, or Evernote to take all my notes in. I don't have to guess. I don't have to go back and look for those notes anymore. I'm trying to keep everything off paper so I don't have to go back, because I'm terrible about going back and writing something down and then I can't find it. I'll spend an hour looking for that note that I wrote, and that's bad process.
Let me say this to see if I got it right. So smart mockups you have installed on your agency website. Your VA creates the image, sends it to you. Then on your agency website, you put those little bubbles with instructions for him. But when it's time for him to look at that, and let's just say we were going to do it with a client, okay? All you would need to send them, they don't necessarily have to be a user, right? You would just send them the link. But in WP Feedback, that is installed on the client's website itself. You've put them in as a user of some sort, whatever role you've given them. Then you can tailor what it is they see within WP Feedback, correct?
Correct. I just sent a link to the Smart Mockups on the new generation one. That way you could see how Smart Mockups work. It's a pretty basic plugin. It's really nice for presenting designs to a client. The nice thing about the pricing on WP Feedback, if you're just going to use it as one-off design consultations, you can do one domain and you can switch those domains all the time. Or you,
the way Vito markets it is you leave it on your client's website.
Yeah.
Then they can submit support tickets with it.
Exactly.
But if you're on a budget and you've got some other way of supporting your clients, you could just get the one domain or the 5 domains and switch them around among clients. So you don't have to buy the Mac Daddy version in order.
He's probably going to have a Black Friday sale, so look out for that and start with something small. He's very good about giving a 30-day money back refund. I like it. I'm going to probably start using it more and more. He's added so much in the last year that I haven't even looked at.
He teaches a lesson in the academy, and I promote his product, not for content collection, because I really still think Content Snare is the best tool for that. But he's trying to get it all in there. He's added sitemaps. You could basically build your
I'm going to start using him
and WP Feedback, create your wireframes, and get the client to give you feedback on the wireframes via the tool. Once you add the design elements, you get them to do it that way too. The upside to that method is your client only has to use one tool and they get used to it and they're comfortable with it. But the point should be made that folks who are watching this, that whatever tool you use, you need to make sure your clients are comfortable with it before you go all in. There are a lot of small businesses out there run by a mom and pop, and they're just not that technical. They'd rather do it with a spreadsheet or collecting content, or they'd rather do it on paper forms or something like that. So you have to work with your client base and what they're comfortable with. And you have to modify your process to meet your clients' needs, not try to fit your clients into a process you decided was the best way to go.
May do different ones for different projects. Like a very large project would be probably a different setup than a smaller one. I wouldn't have a problem using WP feedback and leaving it on a website on some of my clients because they've been with me a long time. They're comfortable in the back end of their websites. Then I have clients who never log into their website. I do everything for them and they like it that way. They don't want to have to worry about it. That's why I pay you X number of dollars a month so I don't have to worry about it. You do everything. But he's added so much. I've been putting off going back and looking at this, but I've started using it mostly with my VA, and he likes it. He likes that we can have the discussion back and forth. I can throw things up there, and he can mark them as complete. I get the notification, and I actually changed. I only want one daily notification. He signs into Slack every morning, so I can see when he signs in. He tells me when he's taken his lunch break. He'll tell me when he's signing off, and he gives me a little synopsis of what he's finished for the day. The next day, I have at least the first half of the day planned for him because he does all my content updates now. As things come in during the day, I send cards directly from email to Trello. I haven't set up a ticketing system yet, but I use Spark for my email, and I can send cards directly to his Trello board from my email. They're mostly repetitive tasks. I have it set up as general information Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I have a video column of how-tos. And we have things that are on certain days, like Mondays is church updates. They add the sermons from Sunday to all the church sites. We have set cards there. Then I go in and update those cards usually on Sunday night or first thing Monday morning. Wednesdays have some set. Thursdays and Fridays I have a lot of church stuff as well that are set tasks that he does every week. And then everything else is just random updates, the content updates that come up. And
hey, unshare your screen if you're done with that so we can see each other.
Okay.
Or so everyone else can see our beautiful faces.
Okay. I have one of my very first clients, a Warren Baptist. Their site originally did all their sermons using posts. Well, we moved to Series Engine. Gosh, I hate to say this, like 5 or 6 years ago. And so all those old posts, and we're talking 1,000, because we've been doing posts since 2009 for sermons. So I had all those sermons sitting there, but I didn't want to delete them without redirects because Google knew about them. Last week's project, one of his projects was to create all the redirects for 938 posts.
Wow.
And I gave him a Loom video. Here's how you do it. Here's how the format I want them in. I had them all and was able to give them directly to WP Engine support. They imported them, and we were able to go in and delete them all.
Melanie, I can't thank you enough for being here and doing this. We've had a lot of really positive comments over in the Facebook. People are going, wow, this is great information, because this is the nitty-gritty stuff a lot of people don't cover. And it's all related to productivity, process, getting things done and getting things done on time. What is wpchurch.me/mockups?
That is the link to the slides.
Oh, okay. So I'm putting that over in the Facebook group too. Okay.
So
great.
Yeah, that's my little short
thanks
thing.
for watching, everyone. I'm glad you came to see us. Those of you who are watching the replay, if you could just type replay in the comments, that gives me an idea of how many people are actually engaging here. I would really appreciate it. This coming Friday is the 20th. We're going to talk about how to make sure you get paid for your discovery session. We see you next time, guys. Remember, stay productive, stay strong, and never stop learning. Thanks, Melanie. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.